Let's go over 5 unique ideas you should try for your next rebuild. So whenever I live stream, I always have someone come in my comments and ask me, hey Jaden, can you give me an idea, a team, a situation, a scenario for a rebuild, and I'll complete it. And I always give them, hey, go do this, you got 5 years to complete this task, and these are the restrictions, and they always love that idea. So why not make a whole video with 5 ideas for you guys to maybe even try in your own dynasty. If y'all enjoy the content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to go over to my Twitch, drop a follow over there. So the first idea I actually want to give you guys is going to be super similar to my Delaware State rebuild. You could do this with Delaware State or Norfolk State rebuild, which is going to be the Mike Vick school. Delaware State is going to be Deshaun Jackson. And I have a lot of recruiting restrictions on this series that I'm live streaming over on Twitch. And you can do the same exact thing with the Mike Vick. So the first thing you're going to need is the team builder. It is a team builder. Some people don't like it. I actually think it's kind of useful and kind of interesting. So this is what you want to type in. You want to type in the school name. And you're going to come in here. You're going to see a bunch of them pop up. You know, you could pick which one you want to use. I don't know which one is the best. You're going to have to go through. This one got 1K. A couple of them got 1,000. I usually go by how highly rated they are, and then also how many downloads they have. You pick one of these, and the fun is really going to come in with, you know, the jerseys, the field, but also how you recruit and how you build your coach and how you do the whole rebuild is really what's going to make this whole thing the most fun. So with my Delaware State rebuild, obviously Deshaun Jackson have taken over that program. Both of these schools are HBCUs. What I did is, and what I'm suggesting y'all do, is move them into the tough conference. I moved them into the ACC. I thought that made the most sense. I still wanted to play in the tough conference. Didn't want to move them to the Sun Belt or whatever. I wanted to play in the tough conference. So I moved them to the ACC, and we're the worst team in FBS, and we're in the big time conference. Also put some pretty major recruiting restrictions on. Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson are offensive players. So what I did is, for our coach build, we cannot touch the defense for our head coach. When it comes to recruiter, tactician, motivator, architect, we can unlock any of those things. We cannot touch defense in any of those categories. So we will be a phenomenal offense, just like, you know, they're offensive players in real life. If we want defense, we got to rely on our coordinators. Another rule I put in when it comes to recruiting, defense, we cannot recruit any 3-star or higher players, higher than 3-star players. We can only recruit 3 stars or lower, essentially, for the defense. That's going to make it a little bit tough, man. We can scout them. If you want to add another rule, put the no scout on. That might make it a little crazy. But we can at least scout these defensive players so we can find gems, and hopefully they'll end up being good players. But 4 stars and 5 stars really what turns the program around the fastest. So you're not being able to recruit 3 stars on defense. It's going to be tough. Your defense is going to lag behind the offense. Offense, if you go with Norfolk State or if you go with Delaware State, you got to recruit a 5-star at that position. So if you go with the Mike Vick, you got to recruit a 5-star quarterback every cycle. Deshaun Jackson, you got to recruit a 5-star receiver every single cycle. Guess what? You got to recruit a deep threat and then also scrambler. It only makes sense, man. It's only right. But seriously, for the offense, you could go all out. The goal here is to build an amazing offense, man, and slowly build up that defense as, you know, you get some 3-star gems and slowly get some good players there. But this rebuild will be super fun. It's keeping it a little bit more realistic because I think both of these guys will be good head coaches, but I think they'll be better on the offensive side of the ball. That is what they played in the NFL, and they was very good at it. So this is what we're doing with our head coach build. And if y'all want a good Delaware State file to download, type in this username. Shout out to my guy Z. This is actually going to be the one we're using for my live stream in Dynasty. Come over here to schools, and it's going to be this one right here, and we'll preview it. It does say call me Jaden on it, so I understand if you don't want to download it, it might be a little bit too much for you, but we also changed the field. I asked my guy, I want the blue field. Listen, we taking over as the head coach. It's supposed to be a Deshaun Jackson rebuild. We bringing our own field, and it's going to be blue. Make it blue, and we actually got some very good jerseys. Shout out to my guy Z. I'm enjoying this rebuild a lot. On to the next one. So this next idea is also similar to something we did. We pit Hawaii, throw them in the SEC. It was a ball. It took us 10 years to win the national championship. Once we won the national championship, the rebuild was done, but it took us 10 seasons. Why not take a Kent State team that is not very good? They had a very bad record this year, one of the worst records in FBS. You throw them in the SEC, man. You throw them in the SEC, and you also put some recruiting restrictions on that thing as well, man. They're a one-star program. It says they're 75 overall. I promise you, they're going to be a little bit worse than that once you actually look at the team. Also, recruiting restrictions, and then also a little bit of restrictions with your coach build, man. When you're building your head coach, no tactician. Tactician is going to make this rebuild a little bit easier, especially once you get your team better. If you want to do tacticians for your offense and defensive coordinator, cool, but no tactician at all for your head coach, only recruiter, motivator, whatever you want to go with. You slap them in the SEC, you're going to have a losing record for a while. The recruiting restrictions, you can only recruit your prestige or 2 stars higher, where 1 star, the highest we could recruit is 3 stars until we get our prestige up. That's also going to make things tough, man. It's going to make it a little bit tougher to sign some of these players. If you're at 1.5, you still can only sign 3-star players, man. No rounding up with this rebuild neither. So should be a tough one. Like I said, super similar to the Hawaii one. You honestly could do it with any of these 1-star schools. I'm recommending you do Kent State. If you want to do the Canes, you can do any of these 1-star schools. Throw them in the SEC. Put some restrictions on that rebuild. You'll have some fun. And then also just put a goal on it, man. Once you win a national championship, it's done. You move on to the next rebuild. You're done with it. If it takes you 5 seasons, 20 seasons, whatever. Once you win that natty, moving on to the next one. So this next idea, I don't think it'll happen in real life. But let me clarify that. It got to do with Colorado. I don't think this will happen. But let's say Deion take that job for the Cowboys, man. Deion take the job for the Cowboys this year, and you have to take over the Colorado Buffs. But every single starter, you got to force them to transfer. Because let's be honest, if Deion left, a lot of those players will jump in that portal ASAP. So in this situation, he does go to the Cowboys. You're taking over the program. You got to force every single starter to transfer, man. You also got to advance the whole 2024 season, obviously. Make every single win and loss that they had in real life, send to the offseason. And once you get to that offseason, like I said, you make your head coach and you force all the stars to transfer. You already going to have a lot of guys go to the NFL, whether it's obviously the Heisman Trophy winner, Shador. You're going to have a lot of players leaving that team. It's going to be tough. This already is an old roster, and then you also forced all your transfers or all your top players to enter the portal. This overall might be in the 70s. It might be the low 70s when it's all said and done, and then you have to rebuild the roster with similar rules. You can do whatever you want with the head coach for this one. But same idea where, like, your prestige. You got to go by your school prestige. Whether it's you're a 3-star, then you can recruit anyone. If you drop down to a 2, you only can recruit 4 stars. Somewhere in that ballpark. So we're doing, like I said, Deion. Imagine him going to the league. You're taking over the program. Everyone left with him. Everyone transfers out, and now you're taking over, and it's your show. So next, let's go with a death penalty, man. And you come over here, it's only a handful of 5-star schools in the game. And you look at these 5-star schools, and one of them has done some stuff to win a national championship, man. Whether it helped them win or not, but they have been accused of some stuff, and it's Michigan. You know, obviously they didn't have a great year. They did end up beating Alabama at the end of the season in that bowl game, but not a great year that they expected. The future is looking bright. Well, guess what? We're giving them boys the death penalty, man. We're giving them the can. What the death penalty looks like in my head and the way I think y'all should implement it for 4 straight years, force the loss of every single game, man. Force them to lose every single game for 4 years in a row, and also put all the recruiting on during that process. It'll take you probably about 10-15 minutes to do this, but once you get to that 4th year or that 5th year after you made everyone pretty much leave out the program, all your starters, you're going to be left with a bad roster, and the school prestige is also going to be in a bad spot. And now you take over, and your goal is to rebuild this roster in 5 years. The reason we're giving you 5 years, because recruiting is not going to be that difficult with this team. They have good pipelines, and a lot of these 5-star schools, it's hard for them to turn bad. So once you take them over, you'll be good. 5 years is what I'm giving you to win a national championship. If you don't get it, move on to another school, move on to another one of these ideas. Recruiting restrictions, not really none. We're not going to give any restrictions with the recruiter or with the bill or with the coach bill. You just have 5 years from the death penalty. Your roster is probably going to be somewhere in the 60s, 70s. It's going to be a bad team. You're in a good conference, so it's going to be tough. But by year 4, year 5, you should be competing for that national championship. So my next idea, I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but you can become a 0-star school. Like you could become a half a star. Maybe I shouldn't say 0, but literally you could become a 0 or half a star school, wherever you want to consider it. You see right here, Arkansas State, they're a 1-star school. And all the prestige is the combination of all your grades. So if you look at their grades and you somehow able to make them worse, your school prestige will literally drop down to a half a star. If you same thing with Buffalo, you're able to drop Buffalo prestige pretty easily if you pretty much just force losses and don't have great seasons and don't bring in great recruiting classes. Well, I want you to get a team to a half of prestige. I'm recommending Arkansas State. Y'all could do any of these 1-star schools, get them to half prestige, and your challenge is go from 0 stars to 5 stars with a dynasty. Restrictions, the only restriction is same thing with recruiting. You can only recruit your prestige or higher. So when you're a 0-star, guess what? You can only recruit 2 stars. So it's going to be tough. It's going to take a long time. This one will take the longest out of all of them. To get a school to a 5-star prestige, you're probably going to have to move conferences. You're going to have to move conferences, especially if you're taking over one of these 1-star schools. It's going to be difficult. This is a rebuild that might take you 10, 15 years to complete. To fully turn a 1-star into a 5-star, it's going to take a long time, but could be a super fun idea. You're going to win a couple national championships on the way. I think this is a fun idea we might do for a live stream series later in the year. When it comes to the coach build, like I said, free game. You can do whatever you want with the coach build, with the coordinators. All right, so that was just a few ideas. If y'all want me to drop a part 2 of this, I have a bunch more ideas. Some with the Pac-12, rebuilding the Pac-12, other with team builders, maybe a whole HBCU conference. It's a lot of ideas I have. Y'all let me know if y'all want more. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If y'all enjoyed the video, go over to my Twitch and drop a follow over there. But appreciate y'all for watching.